What is going on? Hope you guys are doing fantastic. As you can see, there's a different scenery change here. If you guys have watched my videos before in the past, you know that this background right here, if you're OG, you know we're back in my hometown. So, we've left Thailand, we're back here. But nonetheless, in this video, I want to talk about when resistance comes when you seem to be doing better. So, what I mean by this is one thing that I learned about myself in looking at my journals and all of my patterns in the past about self-improvement, growing my business, and all of these different things is I always noticed that, let's say I've hit a certain, goal or a certain mark. Let's say, for example, let's say you're a business owner, you're starting from zero, and you want to hit 10K a month, right? And what I notice here, especially with myself, is whenever I hit a new baseline, a new um, point, like let's say I hit 10K a month, and then you get comfortable there. That becomes your identity. I always notice myself kind of when trying to reach the next level, like for example, going from 10 to 20K a month, if it's in business, or if you're going to the gym and you hit like a certain plateau, right? And what I'm trying to get out of this is I always notice when you decide to make a change from a place where you're comfortable. Now, this could mean anything. It'd be in business, gym, self improvement, or anything. Is one thing that I learned is obviously in the beginning you need to become someone to get to somewhere where you want to go, right? And what I realize is that continues and it goes on and on and on for every level that you get to. And the resistance that comes is one way that I was able to kind of process this in my mind was, and what I noticed was every time I hit a certain point, I would notice a bunch of resistance coming up in my life. And that would be if I, you know, let's say I'm doing like 10K a month in my business, right? And you get really comfortable there. You're like, oh, I made it. I got the success. I hit my milestone, my goal. Now you're ready to hit your next goal. And obviously 10K is just the beginning goal. You want to hit your next goal. It could be physique or really anything else as well. And one thing I always noticed is looking back at my previous journals is I was stuck in these cycles of, you could almost say it was like arrogance. It's like, well, I've done this, so why should I have to change myself to get to the next level? I've become this person to get here, so this person should be able to carry me onto the next level, right? And I've been taught this before, but I kind of now at this point I'm able to actually really understand what it means. And whenever I try to level up, let's say I hit to level 1, I try to hit level 2, I would feel all this resistance, all these things like, if I were to actually move my camera here, so if we actually look at this little amazing drawing that I put out here. So there's your old identity, and then there's your true identity. Your old identity basically is the last baseline that you had. That could be, you know, either you working a 9 to 5 job, or you don't want to be in your current position wherever what you're currently doing in your life, and you want to hit to the next level. And when you finally start to improve upon yourself, you finally start to see progress. All of a sudden, things like doubts pop up, like you doubt if you can even get there in the first place. You get shiny object syndrome. You start to question if what you're doing is the right thing. Start making excuses like, oh, it's this factor, it's the market, it's these different things is why I'm not able to grow. And then you start also creating different stories. And one of the biggest things I noticed for myself is whenever I started feeling off, and I noticed now looking at my previous journals, is like I started only feeling off once I started actually improving and making progress, which is, it sounds weird, right? And I would be like, oh shit, I feel off now. I need to take a step back, work on my mindset, do these things so I feel better so I can move forward. But one loop that I was in was I would go back to the mindset, and then I'd find other problems, be like, oh, it's because of this trauma, because of this, and that. And that would just kept me in a perpetual cycle of staying in my old identity. So if you imagine this red, amazing red straight drawing that I put here, imagine it's a rubber band. And each time you make progress, then there's a certain point where it feels tough, it feels rough, right? And then you start, getting all these things that I mentioned before, doubts, shiny objects, and excuses, and different stories that you tell yourself, and you snap back to your old identity because it's what you're comfortable with, right? And there's a point in time where it's like the resistance only comes when you're getting better, is because that's your old identity trying to preserve itself. It's trying to survive. It's trying to not die out, right? And your true identity is you and one all being with the universe, with God, with yourself, your true self, of what you actually want to do to that next level, to that next goal that you actually want. Because ultimately, to living in this life is to have ultimate freedom, to do genuinely what you choose and what not to be limited by anything. And the only limitations you have is your mind, no matter what position you were in, right? And that everything is essentially possible. So there's a period where once you get all these resistance, you need to reframe how you look at these doubts, these thoughts, and these things that come into your mind when you start to make a decision to improve in your life. and you need to look at them as positives. And that's one of the biggest reframes that I had recently that has been able to get me to put more of the work that is actually needed in my business and to continue doing that regardless of how I felt, regardless of doubts, regardless of the stories, excuses, and everything else, is I reframed the pain and the resistance that I was feeling towards progressing as a positive thing, as a sign that you're basically killing off the old version of yourself. And now it's once you push through that point, that rubber band, eventually it's going to snap. And then your true identity at this point becomes your new baseline. Because then now that is what your new comfort is. And then that new baseline then becomes your old identity again. And you need to continue this process. And the biggest thing you can do is to just reframe your perspective on resistance and pain overall to being something positive, to it being a sign from the universe that it's putting you through the necessary challenges and things so that you can become the person that you want to be. And so that you can go through all these things. And we've been conditioned our whole lives to think that, oh, if I feel bad about something or I feel resistance, I should take a step back and figure it out. But no, the only internal work you need to do is you need to determine what your goal is, who you need to become, and then you need to take the necessary steps every single day, regardless of how you feel, until that becomes your new baseline, until you become comfortable with that, with the vision of who you want to be, and you're acting as if that you are that person every single day. So that's kind of the biggest lesson that I learned recently, was just to reframe pain and resistance as something positive. And now, honestly, all I really look forward to is the next challenge that comes to me, right? Because I know it's just shaping me. This is just resistance. It's just the middle block of getting me to where I want to be. And it doesn't have to be pain. It doesn't have to be painful, or it doesn't have to be tough or anything. You just need to reframe your perspective on that pain as something positive. And over time, you start to believe it. And over time, you start to incorporate that into your new baseline. And then everything you want and you get, even if it's difficult or not, you still take the necessary actions and steps needed to get to your goal. But yeah, that's my quick talk for today. I am back home. It's great. Building out a bunch of different plans and goals here for this YouTube channel, as well as my journey and everything in the future video. I'm actually doing a 90-day body journey. So when I was in Thailand, I gained a bunch of weight. Food's really good, really cheap. So now we're going to shred it all off and hit our goal physique. So I'm going to make a video about that. But if this video helped you, let me know. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Peace out.